Alright guys, so today we have this 2022 Toyota 4Runner, and this thing got hit on the rear passenger corner. Now even though the body shop did a pretty good job with the repair, the vehicle still had collision warning lights on in the dash, and we had codes for misalignment for the blind spot monitor on the passenger side. Now the first thing that I noticed was that the bracket for the blind spot monitor was bent to crap, so we picked one up from our nearest Toyota dealer. Here I am installing it. Now it was time to take a measurement of the vertical alignment. Our spec is 90 degrees, and as you can see here, we're at 85. So I'm just gonna bend the bracket a little bit. Now I'm just going to take another measurement, and as you can see, we're right on 90 degrees. Now it's time to take our horizontal measurement, and I'm just going to start off by taking a measurement of the driver's side, which is our known good side. Now the specification for the angle is anywhere between 46 and 54 degrees, perpendicular to the straight line of the vehicle. And as you can see here, we're at 49.6, which is right about 50 degrees. Now I'm going to show you how we get our measurement over here on the passenger side. I like to use one of these self-leveling lasers and draw a perfectly straight line that runs from the front wheel to the back wheel. I'm using blue painter's tape to mark where my straight line is. I know it's a little faint, but if you look closely, you can see our laser line running across the floor, and I've got the protractor set at 50 degrees. Now to measure the angle of our sensor, I like to use this piece of flat steel on my laser level, and as you can see, it draws up a line on the floor. Now the angle of our sensor is indicating that it's pointed too far inward, so we need to bend the bracket so that it points more outward. Here I'm using a pry bar to bend the bracket outward. Then I'm just going to take another measurement and try to keep bending it until I get the correct angle.
1 hour later.
Alright guys, so because the body was so misshapen from the accident, no amount of bending the bracket was going to get it into place. So ultimately, I had to use some washers as spacers to get the bracket to sit correctly. Once I did that, I was able to get our angle spot on at 50 degrees. So now that our blind spot monitor is at the correct angle, we can now begin the calibration process. It's time to start drawing up the center line of our vehicle. We can do this by dropping a plumb bob straight down the center of the Toyota logo. Then we're just going to mark it using a piece of tape and a Sharpie. We're going to do the same thing down the back side. As you can see, we marked where our plumb bob is showing the center line. Now we're just going to draw up a laser that runs through the mark on the back to our mark on the front. Okay, so now we can tape this piece of paper that we printed from the Toyota service manual onto the floor. It has the angles already drawn up for our target placement. As you can see, we're using our laser to project our line from our piece of paper to our triangular target. Right here you can see I'm using a digital measuring tape to measure the distance for the target. Our specification is 11 feet. Here you can see I'm using the same tool to measure the height of the target. I also like to use a level to make sure that our target is straight. Here we're going to be using my Zenith Z7 scan tool. We're going to start by clicking on service, ADAS, select the vehicle. Then we're going to go into the blind spot monitor for the passenger side. Now select beam access display. As you can see, our angle is negative 0.49 degrees, well within the specification of plus or minus 3.6 degrees. We can now go ahead and continue with the beam access adjustment. As you can see, it's doing the adjustment, and our beam access adjustment is complete. Now after clearing the fault codes, we no longer have any lights or messages on the dash. This calibration was a success. So that's how you calibrate a rear blind spot monitor using the Zenith Z7.